Hey everybody, welcome to Studio 64. My name's David. I've been searching the interzones for more science, space and tech news to share with you. And I came across this at Live Science. Yes, this will be interesting. 6 extinct species that scientists could bring back to life. Yes, de-extinction. Yes, the science of resurrecting extinct species is progressing in leaps and bounds. Here are 6 creatures that researchers could bring back to life, with an Australian connection as well, of course. Yes, I love this. Scientists say they have the technology and the DNA they need to bring extinct species back to life. Love that picture. It's a really nice piece of artwork. It's something I'd like to sort of, you could frame, put it on the wall. Very cute, isn't it? And cute little critters. Yes. Yeah. Fascinates me. Love to see one of these. These mammoths and giant animals. That are now extinct. It's fascinating. As I say, not a scientist myself, just love all science, and this is a combination of DNA technology and anthropology, and I love it. Scientists are on the brink of resurrecting extinct species. Emblematic species such as the woolly mammoth, the dodo, and the thylacine, also known as the Tasmanian tiger, and there's the Australian connection, could soon walk the earth again, according to de-extinction companies and scientists. Now, as usual, I'll leave the link to the main article below the video, so you can pop in, check out the embedded links, go for a bit of a deeper dive if you want, beyond the main article. It does make for an interesting read, believe me. De-extinction starts with DNA samples from the lost species. Sometimes this is the complete genome. Other times they may splice genes from the extinct species into the genome of a living animal. Then, in a process known as nuclear transfer, researchers implant this sequence into an egg cell taken from a closely related living species and from which the original DNA has been removed. The resulting animal is genetically similar to the extinct one. Now, that's fascinating because it brings back shades of Jurassic Park, and it always fascinates me how, even though something that was a fantasy 30 years ago is now sort of, starting to become reality. Very interesting. That happens with a lot of things too, obviously. Scientists have already resurrected at least one lineage. In 2003, researchers in Spain formed nuclear transfer for a subspecies of Pyrenean ibex. See, great scientist, can't even pronounce it. Called the bucado, the Capra pyrenaca. Pyrenaca. Always say things twice, don't they? Sometimes I find that in Latin. It's like some of the towns in Australia, like Woy. Yes, and what's the other one? There's Woy and curry and all this sort of stuff. Oh dear. Which went extinct in 2000. A baby bucado was born, but it died just a few minutes later due to a lung defect. That's a bit sad. It's very sad indeed. De-extinction science has progressed since then, and it could be less than a decade before we see some extinct species again. For better or for worse, here are 6 extinct animals that scientists are considering bringing back. Yes, the woolly mammoth, good old mammoth himself, or herself, or itself, or something these days. Woolly mammoths, Mammothus primigenius, lived between 300,000 and 10,000 years ago during the last ice age, 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago. Although a small isolated population survived on Wrangel Island until around 4,000 years ago, did a video on that in the channel. Should check it out. The main population roamed tundra that stretched across present-day Asia, Europe and North America. A shift in the climate at the end of the Ice Age, together with human hunting and dwindling genetic diversity in the population, may have driven woolly mammoths to extinction. Really? A shift in the climate? I thought that was caused by, driving diesel trucks or something. Fascinating. Permafrost in the Arctic has preserved the carcasses of woolly mammoths and even the 3D structure of their genome. This means scientists can extract well-preserved DNA and potentially assemble a genetic sequence resembling those of the original animals. This in turn would enable researchers to perform nuclear transfer with a modern elephant egg cell to give rise to a species similar to the woolly mammoth. Recent breakthroughs suggest woolly mammoth de-extinction is inching closer, with the US-based de-extinction company Colossal Biosciences claiming it will produce its first mammoth calves by 2028. Yes, definitely check the video out on the channel for this one. It's I might pop the link to it below this video because it's very, very interesting indeed. In fact, I will do that. Yeah, absolutely amazing. And the good old dodo. This should be entertaining. The dodo, Rhaphis cucullatus, was a large flightless bird endemic to Mauritius, an island off the coast of Madagascar. Dodos went extinct in the 17th century as a direct result of European colonisation, of course. People are blaming everything. It's fascinating. And have therefore become an emblem of human-caused extinction. I'm surprised they didn't blame Donald Trump. Yeah. 300 years before he was born, but that's still his fault. Stop it. Yes, became an emblem of human-caused extinction. Colonisers arrived in Mauritius in 1598, bringing them with them a panoply of non-native species, including rats, cats, and even monkeys, according to the Mauritian government. These animals plundered dodo nests of eggs and chicks, reducing the number of birds on the island to critical levels in just a few decades. Together with deforestation and humans' hunting of dodos, predation ultimately led the species to die out by 1861, and that's sad. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we could revive them. Today, dodo DNA survives in Natural History Museum specimens. In 2022, scientists assembled the first dodo genome, using an exceptionally preserved specimen housed in a collection in Denmark. But several hurdles remain before the species can be brought back to life. These include the need to engineer genetic diversity into the dodo's DNA sequence so it does not end up with a population of clones. Ben Lamb, CEO and co-founder of Colossal Biosciences, told Live Science. On the plus side, Lamb said, it's much quicker and easier to gestate a dodo than a woolly mammoth or a thylacine, given that the bird's DNA is self-contained in an egg. Cool. Very good indeed. Well, here's a little short video. Let's check this out, and then we'll carry on the conversation when we come out the other side.
Is it possible to clone a dinosaur? Okay, let's cut to the chase. As of now, it is not possible to clone a dinosaur. I'm not talking about modern birds, the descendants of dinosaurs. I'm talking about the ancient non-avian dinosaurs, such as T-Rex, Stegosaurus, and Triceratops. So what gives? What are the challenges of cloning a dinosaur? First off, dinosaur fossils are actually chock full of DNA fragments. That's because bone contains a mineral called hydroxyapatite, which has a strong affinity for DNA. But we're not sure whose DNA is in these fossils. It could belong to dinosaurs, but it could also belong to microbes, other extinct animals, or even people who have worked with the fossils. Also, we don't know what dinosaur DNA looks like, so it would be hard to identify it amongst all the fragments. Besides, even if we could identify dinosaur DNA, we would need more than a few fragments to recreate an entire dinosaur genome. In the 1993 movie Jurassic Park, scientists collect dinosaur DNA from an ancient mosquito caught in amber. But this likely wouldn't work in real life because amber doesn't preserve DNA that well. For argument's sake, let's say we found fully sequenced dinosaur DNA and we're somehow able to create a fertilized dinosaur egg. Once it hatches, would this baby dinosaur be able to survive in today's world? A world which has different temperatures and amounts of oxygen and carbon dioxide than were present 65 million years ago? I mean, it would be cruel to bring back just one animal to treat it like a curiosity. It takes about 5,000 animals to create a sustainable population with genetic diversity. So if we're going to seriously bring back dinosaurs, we'll need a big space to keep them that has plenty of food. Speaking of which, I'd advise bringing back plant eaters because it would be difficult, to say the least, to deal with T-Rex, which had serrated teeth the size of bananas. Can we clone dinosaurs? Just another one of life's little mysteries.
Well, that was interesting. Yes, you sort of don't think of the practical side, do you? You know, hello, I just cloned a T-Rex. Chomp. Oh, anything else to say about it? No, he can't say anything. He's had his head bitten off. As I say, I'm not a scientist myself. I just love looking at all the ins and outs and the curiosities of science. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Here we go. Here's the Aussie connection. The thylacine. Yes, this is the picture of the last thylacine. Thylacinus cynocephalus died in captivity in 1936. Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. Yeah, I wonder if it died of cephalus, or that's syphilis, or something like that, yes. Oh, dear Lord, David. Fascinating. The Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, Thylacinus cynocephalus, was a wolf-like carnivorous marsupial with stripes on its lower back, once thrived throughout what is now Australia. The species disappeared from the mainland between 3,000 and 2,000 years ago, but a population persisted on the island of Tasmania. In the late 19th century, the first European settlers in Tasmania introduced a bounty on thylacines, which people perceived to be voracious predators of livestock. The subsequent killing drove thylacines to extinction, with the last individual dying in a zoo in 1936. Now, that's an interesting point here. The thylacine species had just disappeared from the mainland of Australia between 3,000 and 2,000 years ago. Okay, what caused them to die out? It certainly wasn't Europeans. I'm not saying that the European settlers should have done what they did. I get that. But we've got to look at this too, and say, how did they die out? It's exactly the same as, climate change is causing this to happen. Yeah, but the climate has changed dramatically over millennia and over eons, Antarctica was once tropical. We know this. All right? So why is it all of a sudden man is causing all these problems? Just interesting. As I say, I'm not a scientist, but I have questions. But not allowed to ask questions, or you'll get banned or arrested. Fascinating, isn't it? Thylacines are a good candidate for de-extinction because there are plenty of intact specimens to extract DNA from. Andrew Pask, a professor of genetics and developmental biology at the University of Melbourne in Australia, told the BBC Future. Every major museum wanted one in their collection, so there are hundreds of samples around the globe, and some are exceptionally preserved, said Pask, who was working with Colossal Biosciences on de-extinction. But the DNA is very fragmented, meaning a lot of editing is needed to get a functional sequence. Pask and his colleagues sequenced a complete thylacine genome in 2017, and in 2023, researchers extracted RNA from a Tasmanian tiger. But there are so many more challenges to overcome before a baby thylacine is born, he said. That's interesting. A passenger pigeon. Picture of the last male passenger pigeon. Ectopistes migratorius, which died in 1912. Oh, that's sad. That little critter. The passenger pigeon, or Ectopistes migratorius, was once the most abundant bird species in North America, making up between 25 and 40% of the total bird population in what is now the US before the 17th century, according to the Smithsonian Institution. European settlers hunted the pigeons for meat and progressively destroyed the bird's habitat, causing their extinction. Passenger pigeons travelled in large flocks and bred communally, which made them extremely vulnerable to hunting. According to the Audubon Society, the last known passenger pigeon, a female named Martha, in honour of Martha Washington, died in 1914. Yeah, that's a bit sad. Museums hold dozens of stuffed passenger pigeon species whose DNA scientists have extracted and sequenced, but the DNA is so fragmented it's unlikely researchers will bring back the passenger pigeon in its original form. That's a question too. With taxidermy, it's like stuffing of animals. With the chemicals and everything, do they use chemicals, or do they, I don't know how these things are. Again, I'm just trying to learn here. If you stuffed a passenger pigeon, right, and you had chemicals in it, does the DNA degrade? The idea is to preserve the animal. So I'm sort of wondering, does that then negate the availability of decent DNA? Just interesting. It's like human beings, we stuff them full of, when we die, they get full of, bodily fluids are drained and, embalming fluids shoved in there. And as I said, I don't know how it works. Again, not a mortician. But I'm wondering, would that affect the result of, say, a DNA test on someone who's died? Again, don't know. Interesting, though. Just thoughts, thinking aloud. Instead, the biotechnology company Revive and Restore plans to introduce snippets of passenger DNA pigeon into the genome of modern-day band-tailed pigeons, Patagonius fasciata, that will give rise to birds that look like the extinct species. The company aims to hatch the first generations of pigeons in 2025 and begin trial releases into the wild soon after, according to its website. If successful, the company says the project will demonstrate the potential of genomic intervention and help to restore the ecology of North America's eastern forests. People go, well, what's the point in that? Well, if we can get the techniques right with animals, maybe we can do things for humans and help with diseases and things like that. I do understand it, but like people go, oh, it's a bit dangerous. Well, it's like any other technology. It's not inherently evil. It's what we do with it. But we know some people are going to do the wrong things with it. But I'd say we need more pigeons. The way censorship is going on social media and YouTube and everything else, I think we're going to need more bloody carrier pigeons to send messages to each other the way things are going, knowing there'll probably be a YouTube-branded hunting rifle next. So when we use our passenger pigeons or carrier pigeons to send messages to each other, they'll be censored by being blown out of the sky. It's fascinating. Auroch. Here we go. Let's have a look here. Humans drove aurochs, Bos primigenius, through overhunting and habitat destruction to extinction. Oh, that's a bit sad. Fascinating. Aurochs, or Bos primigenius, are the wild ancestors of modern cattle, including domestic cows, Bos tortoise. They were giant horned beasts whose range extended across North Africa, Asia, and nearly all of Europe for thousands of years, with the earliest known fossils dating to around 70,000 years ago. Aurochs were the largest terrestrial mammals left in Europe after the last ice age ended, but humans drove them to extinction through overhunting and habitat destruction. The last known aurochs died in 1627 in Poland's Jack-Torto forest. That's really interesting, isn't it? Ongoing efforts to de-extinct the auroch differ from those for other extinct species in that they do not require genetic engineering. Most of the auroch's DNA lives on in modern cattle breeds, prompting researchers to try an alternative method called backbreeding. Backbreeding involves selecting and breeding cows that have physical traits and behaviours resembling those of aurochs. I wonder if we could do that with... We could probably do that with some people too. We'll take their DNA, we'll backbreed them into, Neanderthals. You probably don't have to do anything to them. But you know what I mean. Like, it's interesting. I wonder if we could, backbreed humans. That would be fascinating. These, as again, it's just a thought. I don't want to go out and start genetically modifying bloody whatever. But the point I make is that all science has its good uses. It's what we put them, it's like if we were able to genetically do something that's good and save the life of a child or prevent childhood diseases with genetic sciences, some form of genetic science. That would be a good thing. But you can guarantee somebody will find a way of turning it into something nasty. And then everyone goes, well, we should ban the whole lot. No, you don't ban motor vehicles because of drink driving. Just because some people do the wrong thing with them doesn't mean that all cars are bad. It's like guns. To me, I'm not a fan of guns, but hey, if you are a responsible gun owner and go to shooting ranges and do the right thing, and don't pull your gun out unless it's absolutely necessary, and don't fire it unless it's absolutely necessary, and you keep it locked in a safe when you're not using it, I can't see a problem myself. Just those people that take it out, wave it around, and shoot it randomly they shouldn't be able to do that. Not everyone wants to ban guns. It's ridiculous. They did that in Australia, all because of, it was a bad things happen. I know that, but banning guns doesn't stop criminals from getting them. It fascinates me. You can ban DNA research because that somebody might do something bad with them, bad with that DNA research. So therefore, all the kiddies suffer because they're not getting their, this DNA research is not going to benefit them. It's just another way of censoring everything as far as I'm concerned. These are primarily southern European breeds that are kept in relatively wild conditions. Ronald Godey, an ecologist and director of the Taurus Foundation, which oversees the Auroch project, told Live Science. The project, which is based in the Netherlands, has yielded more than 6 generations of cows and is getting very close to producing an Auroch lookalike, Godey said. Yeah, lookalike. Dear oh dear, you know. That's what sort of fascinates me. I mean, it always has to look like something, or look like this, or look like that. You know, human beings, everything's about appearance. Fascinates me. Quagga. What the hell's a quagga? Let's have a look. The quagga, Equus quagga quagga, there goes those two names again, went extinct in the late 19th century. Equus, I'm assuming, is short because it's part of the horse family, I had a guess. So let's have a look. The quagga, Equus quagga quagga, is an extinct subspecies of the plain zebra, Equus quagga, the most widely distributed zebra species. Quaggas were endemic to South Africa and had fewer stripes on their hindquarters than other zebras. Oh, okay. They were targeted by hunters for their unusual pelts and by farmers who wanted to graze livestock without competition from other animals. Relentless persecution in the 19th century made the quagga extinct in the wild, and the last captive quagga died in 1883. Only 7 quagga skeletons remain in existence, making them the rarest skeletons in the world, according to the University College London. Now, as with auroch backbreeding, efforts to bring the quagga back to life did not involve genetic engineering. Since 1987, the Quagga Project in South Africa has selectively bred plain zebras with fewer stripes than usual for the species to retrieve at least the genes responsible for the quagga's characteristic striping pattern. Now, according to the project's website, but the project is controversial, according to UCL, with critics arguing the resulting animal will still be a plain zebra and that the money will be better spent on other conservation projects. Instead, it may be possible to clone quaggas by extracting DNA from the bone marrow of a skeleton or from a taxidermy specimen and then injecting it into a zebra cell, according to UCL. Yeah, it's still a plain zebra. It just looks different. You might as well paint it. Non-toxic paint, of course, but you understand what I mean. You know, it's it's all about appearances. It looks like something.
Who did that thing you did? Scan for steps to redeem a...
Be quiet. Yes, that was quite interesting, actually. That sort of thing just fascinates me. I absolutely love, as I say, all science, and it's still fascinating to try. But you've also got to remember these will be living beings, and I'm just hoping they don't suffer when we bring them back as a curiosity. But, I do understand the reasoning behind it. Imagine being able to, we're losing that many species on a regular basis. I'm thinking that it's, you got to look at that species, though, and say, is it worth bringing it back? Like the T-Rex, if we could do it. But, there are other species that would be good to bring back. But we've also got to take into account we don't want them to suffer either. Because there's one thing I could never stand. There's cruelty to animals. All right, well, my name is David. Thanks for joining me for another Studio 64 Science, Space and Tech News update. I shall see you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate you. If you're up for it, drop a comment down below the video because I'd love to hear what you think. All right, take care. And as I always say, if you can't be good at it. And as I also always say,
a most fascinating thing happened.
5,